Hello, and welcome to Bite Size Legal, where we tackle legal issues one bite at a time. My name is Drew Jenkins, and I'm an attorney licensed in the states of Georgia and Alabama. And today, we're taking another small bite out of the Paycheck Protection Program. We've been working our way through the CARES Act passed by Congress, and we're seeing that the actual implementation of the law can sometimes vary dramatically with what the requirements of the law are. For example, under the CARES Act, Congress authorized loans for up to 4% with a maturity of 10 years. The Treasury came back and said, we want to make loans with a maturity of 2 years and only 0.5% interest. Some of the smaller banks came back and said, look, at 0.5%, it simply costs them too much in manpower and in time than they're going to make getting 0.5% per year, even if it's 100% guaranteed by the government. So at the last second last week, the Treasury came back and said, you know what, fine, we're going to let the loans be at 1%. And people began filing on Friday. The issue we're seeing is no one seems to actually be getting paid, and there's a lot of question over who is actually eligible. And I've answered a few questions this week from some of y'all who have called in regarding filling out the forms. The first thing we need to realize is you're going to be filling out two different sets of forms. One is the Paycheck Protection Program form that is created, and you can find it on the SBA's website, the Small Business Administration. We always have to remember that these loans are 100% guaranteed by the government. So if for some reason you as the business owner fail to repay the loan, the lender has zero risk, right? Because the government has told the lender, we will pay you what is owed under the loan. So there is the government's form, which is the SBA. That is a very short form, and all that form does is determine your eligibility, right? In addition to eligibility, we also have to determine what is the amount of money you are going to get. Now, we have to remember, the law passed by Congressmen and women are not specialists. So oftentimes, their laws are written very broadly, and it is handed over to a regulatory agency in order to decide exactly what the actual rules are going to be, the rules and regulations. So as you're filling out the forms, you're going to see that there are two forms, which some may have combined into one. And the first form is the one that determines eligibility. That's the one that's coming from the government. Determining how much you're getting is a form that so far appears to be generated by the bank itself, trying to be consistent with the rules. And the problem is we don't actually have all the rules. We don't know. So the question I've been getting is, how much am I supposed to get, right? I'm trying to fill out the form and I'm not sure how to fill it out. And depending on which bank you're talking to, the forms may look a little bit different. And the answer is, I don't actually know, right? It's not a question of law, the filling out these forms. That is a question of internal policies and procedures of the lender. So the best thing I can say is do your best to get a hold of the loan officer in charge of your file and say, hey, I have a question. One of the questions I'm getting is, I run a business and I've got my W-2s, and then where do I put all my 1099s, right? There's a line for 1099s, but it looks a little different. And this is where there is a very large disconnect for some businesses. Some of you think you're being very clever by not hiring employees, right? You don't have W-2 employees, you have what I've heard some of you call them, you have 1099 employees. It doesn't work that way, right? If someone is being paid with a 1099, the recipient of that 1099 is technically their own business owner. They're a contractor. They're not an employee. So even though you, as your own business owner, are paying this 1099 contractor and you feel that that is part of your payroll, it's not, right? Your 1099 contractor is a separate business that has to go apply for their own paycheck protection loan separate from you. And I know there are a lot of businesses out there that rely in order to do their work on a combination of W-2 employees and 1099 independent contractors. But when you are filling out and trying to take out your loan is based on your payroll, right? It is based on your W-2s that you pay out. And if you are in a business that receives 1099s, right, let's say that you are in one of the technical professions, right, you are an electrician, you're a plumber, you're a gas fitter, right, then you typically are probably being paid, unless you're working for a big company, you are receiving 1099s. So you, as the business owner, as an independent contractor, will go to your lender, and you won't have a W-2 for your payroll line. Instead, you will fill out the 1099 miscellaneous for your payroll line, right? And if you are a business owner who utilizes both W-2 employees and 1099 contractors, you cannot borrow money on behalf of another business. So when you are calculating payroll, you can only look at your W-2 employees. And or if you are receiving 1099 income, remember the owners, they haven't quite clarified the regulations on this yet, but as the owner of a small business, if you are receiving a regular paycheck out of that, then there is a way, again, it's not written into the CARES Act, so it's going to come through rules and regulations that I don't think are finalized yet, about how you can get paid as well. But under the law, you as a small business owner, even if you are a sole proprietorship, under the law, you are supposed to receive the Paycheck Protection Program as well. Exactly how it's going to work, unfortunately, is still anyone's guess. And hopefully as we go through the weeks, we'll have better idea of how that's going to work. Unfortunately, right now we don't, and that's hurting the smallest businesses among us, right? The larger businesses that have under 500 employees that are worth millions, they're going to have a lot of W-2s. It's going to be easy. But for those of us that are solo or very small, it can be a lot more challenging. And so I hope you have found this informative. If not, I hope you've at least found it enjoyable. Again, we're going to continue to walk through this in the weeks ahead. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below, and always feel free to get in touch. Take care.